Hey, it's Matt Pinfield. It's KLOS New and Approved, and I'm really excited to have our guest tonight. It's Corey Taylor, great friend and big fan of his music and have been for so long in all his projects. So I'm really happy to welcome him to the show for the first time. Corey, it's great to see you, man.
What's up, brother? It's good to see you too, man.
It's, always a pleasure. I mean, last time we saw each other, you were in town for the David Bowie celebration tribute. You did a killer version of Hang On to Yourself, man. You were in and out. Like you came in, right? Like you came in, I think at like 6 in the morning, right? And you.
Dude, yeah, I got up at 6. I was on the flight at 7. I landed at 8. I got across town and I was standing outside waiting to get in. And I was just out of my mind, tired. I don't even remember a lot from the taping, to be honest. The last thing I remember was talking to you about like what was going on, like what we were doing it. And then all of a sudden I was back in an Uber heading back to the airport to come back home. And I turned around, I was like, God, did that even happen? Like where am I right now? This is crazy.
It was like the quickest trip ever from Vegas to LA to Vegas, right? I mean, it was amazing. Right before the holidays too. It was great.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it was crazy. It was cool though.
I mean, yeah, you did a great version of Hang On to Yourself, and just you. I think it was so cool that it's you, it's and members of Jane's Addiction, members of Foo Fighters. It was all your friends, guys that you've played with, toured with, hung out with. It just made complete sense, didn't it? It was great.
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, it was kind of giving people a glimpse of what happens sometimes at like sound checks or at rehearsal spaces where, friends will stop by and be like, oh, let's jam that tune, or, let's do you know this? Do you know, like, oh, let's give it a shot. It's one of those cool things. It's the language that we all use together as friends and as musicians. It's that common denominator of music that ties us all together, that allows us to kind of embrace each other as well. I mean, for me, at any given moment, there's 1,000 songs going through my head in 1,000 different genres. And to me, being able to get on the same level with somebody and talk musically and understand where they're coming from and know the passion behind it, that you can't trade that. You can't fake it. And it's one of the great things about being able to get together with guys like Navarro and Hawkins and Chaney. I mean, we just had so much fun. It literally took us 20 minutes and we were gone. That's what's rad about working with people who are creative, they're talented, and they're just into it.
Yeah, and you guys were great. It really turned out amazing.
Thanks,
those versions of the songs that you guys did. Corey, it's amazing. Now we're on the 3rd single from CMFT. Such a great record. And, you got to talk to me about it, because I know originally when you guys all got together to record that record, there was actually planned to make a second record pretty much back to back and then tour the world. Literally tour for a good year, but have the second record, ready to go, like on the second touring cycle. And that all changed around, right? I mean, because you had the songs already, right?
Yeah. I have, and a lot of people don't know this, I've been sitting on the songs for 1, 2, and 3 for a while, a long time. Like almost everything on CMFT was written prior to me even thinking about doing a solo album. And with the exception of like 2 songs that I wrote during the last Slipknot tour that I was actually on right before pandemic hit, and then we kind of went in, and then we eventually ended up doing the album itself. There, like everything else predates, like it's like 10 to 15 years old, or even longer. And that's very much the case with like everything else that I've got compiled for CMF2 and beyond. And the original idea was to, after the pandemic was done, go in, record CMF2, and then once everything lifted, we go out and we tour on 2 albums, which that may still happen, just not as quickly as I was thinking. It's sounding like I'm going to go do some Slipknot here in shortly, but we'll circle back to that. We actually demoed everything that's going to be on CMF2. And so we have the skeletal structure and everything, and we know exactly what we're going to do. So when the time comes, we can just go in, blast it out, super easy. The way we did it before, just all of us together in a room and just vibing together. So we're stoked on that.
I love what you guys do because you've got such a great band. Our mutual friend Jason Christopher is one of your best friends in the world, playing bass for you guys. And and speaking of that, one of the things that I love your audience to know about is when you did that incredible Corey Taylor and Friends cover show at the Roxy. I declared you guys are my favorite cover band of all time that night because the set list was amazing. I mean, it was incredible. You guys came out. You opened with the Damned Love Song. You went into Dead Boys, All This and More. I mean, and then you would do Already Gone by the Eagles. I mean, it was so diverse. A Boz Scaggs song, Lido Shuffle, which you had since you were a kid as a 45, right?
Yeah.
It was ZZ Top. It was so diverse. It was the most fun cover show that I ever saw, and I love that show. Talk to me about that. I love that you are unapologetic. You love what you love from every era of rock and roll or even pop records that you love growing up, and you're like, hey, this is what I love. I'm going to do it. Tell me about that.
I just love. I mean, music has been the one constant in my life. And regardless of genre, I can remember listening to Motown with my mom and then being subjected to disco, which then became some of my favorite music. I was just, my mom listened to a lot of music. My grandmother listened to a lot of music. They weren't necessarily musically inclined, but music was just always there, so it naturally kind of seeped into, my everyday being. So I just started thinking music at a very early age and just started compiling all-time favorite songs very early. I mean, I can remember listening to Michael Jackson's Thriller, but then sitting down and listening to Def Leppard's High and Dry. I mean, it's literally in the same breath, man. And they're still to this day two of my favorite albums. I don't know why, to me, music really is so linear and it all flows, especially a good song. A good song, it really doesn't need a genre. It doesn't matter if it's a pop song or a rock song or a hip hop song or whatever. A good song will cross any genre and it will appeal to everybody. And to me, that was kind of my approach with like doing cover shows, was looking for the songs that transcend genre and then kind of reworking them into a rock, like a heavy rock vibe. Like we did Lido Shuffle, but we also did Rich Girl by Hall & Oates. Our good friend Pearl sang it, and it was just a really rad way to kind of mix things up. I've done that my whole life, and it's I don't know what it is that my brain can just take a tune and switch it and turn it into a rock tune. It very much like Me First and the Gimme Gimmes. They're brilliant at it. But for me, I just love getting to the essence of it and being able to play a song like that on guitar and then just share it with people. It's essentially me taking a bunch of tunes that maybe people have never been able to see live and playing them live and watching their reaction when you play them. You're like, oh my God, it's just a great time,
Oh yeah. I mean, I loved that transition from the Dead Boys to the Eagles. I mean, it was just like, everybody was, you could see the look on their face. They loved it. You did a great version of it because that's like one of the best Eagles songs ever. Already Gone, it was really, really great. That's, going back to the album, one of the songs that we're playing right now, and we're playing it all the time, is Samantha's Gone. Tell me about that song and when you wrote that song and the basis for that track, what it's about.
I wrote that song, oh man, I wrote that song a while back. And it's actually funny because lyrically, it's very satirical. It's about being the older, sober rock dude in, you know, in any group, just kind of, you know, watching the shenanigans happen, and you're just kind of like, yep, I've been there, done that. It's all good. And it's just very, you know, so to me, it's just about, you know, what's left after all the vices have turned on you. You know, like you get your heart caught in that vice, and, you know, you can go the way of the dodo. So for me, it's a very kind of a kind of tongue-in-cheek look at, you know, still being angry, still being, you know, that rock dude. But then, you know, there's really no, you've burned through all of your crazy vices, you know, so what's left? And the music is left, you know? So I wrote that song actually before I got sober this last time. So I wrote that about 13 years ago, maybe 14. And it was just a song that came out of me. It just has that fun 70s and 80s rock vibe, you know, like it's just got like, there's a little bit of the Stones in it. There's a little bit of, you know, the London Choir Boys. There's a
Thin
little
Lizzy, you know?
Exactly. Thin Lizzy.
Yeah.
There's some Clash in there. There's a
Yeah.
hint of Ramones. It's got so many little nods to some of my favorite genres and bands that it becomes timeless, you know, like it's like you feel like you've heard it forever, and yet it's new. So to me, that was, and being able to record it the way we did, I think enhanced that as well. And yeah, it's a great track.
Yeah, I love that song. Now, I know that you've been saying in the press a bit that you've been talking about the Slipknot, what you're planning for Slipknot, and you and I had a little conversation about it. You know, actually, before I walked you to your Uber that night, but I couldn't be more excited about this next Slipknot record, and I know that you've said in the press that it's something massive that you're planning. And I was going to say, I mean, when I hear that, I think of my favorite concept albums of all time, things like The Wall and Quadrophenia, and these records that are just like. So, I mean, can you elaborate any more on that at this point in time? Is there something that you are comfortable talking about with that?
I can't say too much about it.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that we are currently, we've compiled a lot of material. Me and Clown have talked about something really, really cool. If we can pull it off. There's a chance that it could be conceptual. If we can really do it right. I mean, the music is brilliant. Like it expands on what we did with We Are Not Your Kind, and kind of, kind of blossoms from there. But the great thing is it's got not only that, but it's got everything that you would want from a Slipknot project. It gets the heavy stuff. There's the dark stuff. There's the melodic stuff. There's the weird stuff. I mean, we have so many different flavors that we can play with, that now at this point it's just us kind of mixing and matching and seeing what excites us, you know. So that's all I can say for right now. But I can tell you that it's really, really good, man. Like we're entering a realm that we've never been, and that to us is exciting, man, especially after all of these years. We pride ourselves in always being able to try and top ourselves.
Yeah.
And if we can pull this off, this may be the ultimate top ourselves.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I'm excited about that. I mean, that's going to be amazing, you know, and it's always great with you and Clown, that working relationship you two have always had from the very first time that I met you guys. There was just that chemistry and that creative thing that you have. It really, it's been constant for all these years, which is great. But you're also a major workaholic, which I love. I mean, you've written some great books. I mean, you've got Stone Sour when you do it, and you've done a bunch of other things. And recently, you just did also this rap record with some friends, right? Some guys here in California. Did you do some new rap song?
The Moonshine Bandits. Yeah. Yeah, man, that was a case of, they actually know my wife, Alicia. And they hit her. She had done some work with them in the past and done some stuff in some of their videos, and really cool dudes. and they sent Alicia an email and just said, "Hey, we've got this track. We'd love, if CT likes it, let us know. We'd love to have him on." I listened to it, and it was just fun. Like it was unlike anything that I'd ever really done. And I was just like, okay, I'm kind of vibing on this, and we just went in, banged it out. And then, a little while later, then we ended up doing the video. So it was just, I know it's completely different from anything that I've ever done, but that's kind of the point, man. Like if you keep just, sitting inside your own wheels spinning, you're not going to get any traction, man. You got to branch out. You got to build the rest of the car to be able to know where you're going. So for me, it was fun. Those guys were super cool. We had a great time. And yeah, a lot of people seem to be really enjoying it. It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's great. And you also recently did a duet that's going to come out with the Dead Deads, who are a great band from Nashville, these three ladies. Love them as well. So I'm excited to hear that when that's released, So
yeah, man. I got turned on to them on their album For Your Obliteration, which if people haven't heard is such a great album. It's really, really good. Some of the best songwriting I'd heard in years, and we had the chance to have them on some Stone Sour shows. And we just, me and Tish hit it off as songwriters, man. And she said, I've got this idea for a follow-up to Murder Ballad, which she had done on For Your Obliteration. And it was a murder ballad too. So she and I kind of, through video and whatnot, we just kind of went back and forth building this song and working it out. And it just became something really, really cool, man. And yeah, it should be coming out soon.
Yeah, they're such a great band for people who haven't heard them, Dead Deads. And I'm excited you guys did that. Corey, what about, you've written, I love your books, and I've kept up on every one of them. Talk to me, are you in the course of writing a new one? Because I know that you really are prolific, and it's kind of one of the really, I think, cathartic things for you always. Yeah. You enjoy it in so many levels. Talk to me about that. Do you think you'll have another book soon? Do you have an idea for one? Are you in the process?
I've been toying with the idea for a new one. And I think I talked to you about this before. The fourth one burned me out so hard because of the politics behind it. And it was really my first taste of seeing the warring factions that were going on in this country, man. Like it was really it opened my eyes to a lot of things. I didn't really understand what was going on, and because of that, it became even more urgent to write the book because of where the world was at, especially with, the Trump presidency. And that book wore me out to the point where I didn't even want to think about writing another book for a while. And that's been, God, it's almost 5 years now.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to get that itch. I've got a concept in mind. It has to do with social media and the age that we live in, the outrage age. And it's starting to really kind of form in my head, and I may actually write it soon, because it's really kind of out of control out there right now. I was just reading about how Gen Z is trying to cancel Eminem because of one line that was in a Rihanna song that he did with her, and I'm just like, is that where we are right now? I mean, at this point, you're talking about the Salem witch trials.
Yeah.
You're talking about, the America in the 1920s, where, the KKK was a political force, man. I mean, you're talking about complete condemnation without context or any rationalization for an action like that. And to me, that's the most dangerous, when the mob decides that you're gone, right? I mean, that is Caesar at the Colosseum, for God's sakes, I mean, that's when it's dangerous, you know, with the level of censorship that we're starting to see. And I'm not saying that certain things haven't been said that easily offend people. However, the flip side of that is that you can't even make a joke anymore, even in the cleanest of situations where people go, they completely turn on you, and there's not one hint of satire. There's no hint of irony. It's just all out rage, and it's all through this.
Yeah.
And that's when it's really greedy. That's when it's really dirty. I mean, it can't be that way. If we can't have a conversation, how the hell are we going to communicate? And if we can't understand the difference between metaphor and, you know, complete, you know, reality, then we're in real trouble. And that's where I'm leaning with the book.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to that. I know that it's you always make some pretty incredible observations in every one of those books, and I think we need it right now. I think your fans need it, but I think also people need that. There's been some pretty incredible documentaries that are just showing the power of the social media and you know, and the addiction to social media.
Right.
Now, we also were going to talk about the documentary Long Live Rock. Now, this is the doc that our friends Jonathan McHugh and Gary Spivak and those guys had gotten together, basically around a lot of festivals, the Danny Wimmer Presents festivals that Danny's been having around the country. He's an old friend of ours. And it's been in the works for a long time. It's finally got distribution and it's coming out. So it's really cool. Talk to me about your impression of the film. And I know you're in it. I'm in it for like a brief second. I think I have a couple sentences in it, but I see all my friends that are in it, all my friends in rock and roll. Right. And it's got really interesting stories about the lifestyle of people that love rock, that go to festivals. What is your interpretation of it, and what do you think of the film?
You know, the great thing is that it's almost like the antithesis of what everybody talks about these days. That, you know, that rock is dead, that genre is dead, all this garbage. It's people don't understand. They don't look at history, and they don't look at how, you know, things ebb and flow. And, you know, it's a great celebration of the fact that all of those people who say that rock is dead is completely wrong. You know, all you have to do is go to one of the hundreds of summer festivals, not just Danny Wimmer's, but I mean, the festivals all over the world.
Yeah.
And see that people are still very much into rock and very much into the celebration of live music. And, you know, maybe now more than ever, it's important for this to come out to remind people of what we have to look forward to when the pandemic, you know, really comes to an end. You know, that collision of human and spirit, that the celebration of music in real time, you know, watching someone create in real time, you know, and embracing those songs that we all know and love from the artists that we all know and love, you know, and remembering that it takes a lot of talent and a lot of heart to be able to do what we do, you know. So to me, it's a great exclamation point at the end of a very true sentence that, you know, our way of life, the rock way of life, that tribal kind of crazy, nomadic, insane showman way of life is still very much alive, even though we've all kind of been sequestered in our little caves for a while. When the time comes, that first festival, dude, is going to be out of hand. And I cannot wait. Even if I'm not playing, I just want to see the reaction. You know, I just want to see the kids come back together and just embrace it the way that we've all wanted to, you know, because plastic music's had their moment. Now we're going to come back and show them exactly how it's done.
Exactly. And that's the thing that's about the rock and roll thing with live experience is such an intricate part. It's everything. It really is a big part of it. You know, that's the thing about watching this film. It really makes you miss the live music experience. We do anyway, obviously, because, I mean, you have spent most of your adult life on stage performing. You've been doing that and traveling and doing that for a good, literally most of your adult life. And me going to shows for so many years. And it's something that I love. It was one of the first things for me, besides the isolation when the pandemic came, that really kind of threw me off because I was so used to being out and seeing live music, you know.
Yeah,
and,
no, absolutely. No, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, and it's cool, you know, because, you know, I'm 100%, I feel great. I'm sober. I'm like back in action for I'm going on a year very soon, you know what I mean? But I just wanted to say.
Man, it's rad.
Yeah, you know, it's 10 months now, and I'm telling you that it's just, time is flying by, and it's great. But I love, you know, one of the things is that feeling that you get when you go on stage, Corey, that I've watched audiences from the very first time I saw Slipknot in San Antonio, Texas. We were down there for Tattoo the Earth, you might remember, and that's where we became friends, you, me, and Clown. And I watched that show, and I watched the audience being completely moved and commanded by you that day on stage, and it really blew me away. Tell me about when you go out again, do you feel like so many other musicians are saying it could be like you're literally shot out of a rocket? You're so excited to get to perform in front of your fans again.
Yeah, man. It's something I've been thinking about lately. Like, what's it going to feel like that first time stepping on the stage? And now, mind you, I've played two kind of shows inside of this. We did the live stream, obviously, from the Forum.
Yeah, right here in Los Angeles. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we did a charity show for about 12 people at a buddy of mine's place in LA. And even that was like out of control. Like, we were just so into it, and it was, even though it was intimate, we were just like, just hearing people react in that live setting, man, we were just like, we're doing it, you know. Like, we were so jacked and like crazy, and I mean, we're on a stage the size of my thumb and just loving it, you know. Like, we didn't care. So I've been thinking a lot about what it's going to feel like to step out in front of a massive audience again, you know, or just a real audience again, where that collision of energy and noise kind of creates something beautiful that's never been done before. And I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to feel, dude. Like there's a part of me that knows that I may just pull my own head off and kick it into the audience. Like, I don't know. Like, you can't bank on anything, because it's the closest thing to being completely unhinged and out of control as you can get while still sober, to be honest. And it's so important to me, and I know to everybody that I'm in bands with, that we go out and we represent, because the one thing that is key to all of the projects that I'm in, whether it's Slipknot or the solo, everybody in both those bands, we care so much about the live show, and about doing it to the best of our ability, that I know we're going to be mental before the first show. Absolutely losing it. So I'm really, really stoked, man. And just knowing that, you know, we've turned a corner, and, you know, slowly but surely, here we go. It's getting me even more excited, man, you know?
Yeah, it's going to be incredible. And as far as Stone Sour goes, that's something that's still down the line, of course. Everything is still active. It's just indefinite till you do it again, right?
Yeah. I just, you know, there was kind of a plateau with Stone Sour, creatively, that I needed to kind of step away from. And, you know, it just for some reason, it didn't feel the way that it had felt in the past, you know. And you know, and also I was just really, you know, I was still dealing with my own issues coming out of my last marriage, and dealing with the depression that had come with that, and the the bile of the toxic relationship, man. So going into Slipknot helped with that. It helped me release a lot of that. But then coming out of that, I knew that if I was going to be able to heal a little faster, I needed to do something a little like that felt more, it just felt fresher, you know? So the solo thing was definitely what I needed to do. And obviously I'm going to stay doing solo stuff for a little longer. But you know, you never say never. Stone Sour's been a part of my life since I was 19 years old. It predates Slipknot by 5 years. And it's just, it was the first real band that I ever started. So I'm, it will always be there for me. And hopefully the other guys in the band feel that way. But for right now, I just need to be able to do this, and it's just a part of me,
Yeah, and it's great because you got all that material for those next two solo records and the Slipknot record as you guys are putting those songs together. So you're going to be busy for a while, which is great.
No lack of creativity coming out of the Casa de Taylor. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, there never has been. That's one of the great things. I mean, you know what? And I love that. Corey, thanks so much for taking the time today to hang out and be on the show.
Thanks for having me, man. This is rad.
It's always good seeing you. It's always good getting to talk to you. And I'm sure we'll see each other sometime soon, before when things start to open up around this pandemic. I'm sure you'll make your way back to Los Angeles, or I'll see you in Vegas one way or another,
Absolutely. I'll hold you that.
Yeah, absolutely. Take care, Corey. It was great to see you, man. Thanks for taking the time today.
You too, buddy.
So great to have Corey Taylor on the show. He's got so many great things in the works and on the horizon, and his latest album is called CMFT. It's available now. Thanks so much for watching. This is KLOS New and Approved. I'm your host, Matt Pinfield.